It's over, Rock.
We haven't talked about MLB in weeks. It's a fucking miracle.
Who the hell is Steve Fisher?
I'll kill you. Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of the Slightly Sideways podcast, episode 11. I am your host, Koenig, joined as always by my good friend and co-host, Corbin. Say hello to the people, Corbin.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for everybody for joining us for our 11th episode. Lucky number 11 for all you gamblers out there at the craps table. But anyhow, as you guys know, here on Slightly Sideways, we like to have a few beverages, adult beverages, if you will, to kind of loosen us up for the show and get through this. Here on my end today, I'm actually going with a German beer, Beck's German beer to be precise. It's a beer I've had before, but it's been a while since I've had some Beck's. I've been trying to look for more international stuff so that I'm not just drinking like Coors Light and Miller's Light every week, but with the whole COVID situation, it's been harder and harder to find imported beer. So I picked up some Beck's here. I'll be drinking this. For all you people out there, we've gotten some comments from people saying that maybe if we got a little bit more drunk during the show that it might be more entertaining for people. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to drink one beer for every segment that we have, just to kind of tease you guys a little bit. We have 6 segments on the show for today. So I'm going to be drinking 6 beers. So as soon as we get into our first topic, I'll be pounding one down and we're going to go from there. Koenig, what do you have on your end?
That sounds really exciting. I wish you the best of luck with that. On my end this evening, my drink of choice is actually going to make its debut on the show tonight. Out of Elysian Brewing Company here in Seattle, Washington, I'll be drinking...
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go, the Seattle beers. I'll be drinking a Rolling Stone Lager. And this is the first time ever that Rolling Stone, like the label company, the magazine, etc., has co-created and licensed their iconic brand, the Rolling Stone brand, to a craft beer. It's fairly new. It was released earlier this year, so this will be a first time for me. And if you're out there wondering what we think of the drinks tonight, well, you'll just have to stay tuned to the end of the show. We will be ranking the beers that we're drinking out of 5 stars. So Corbin's going to put 6 down. I've already put down 2. I'll probably finish off another 3 or 4 during the show myself. But stay tuned to the end of the show for our official drink rating. Before we get into tonight's show, if you aren't already, follow us on Twitter at Slightly Sideway. If you're on Facebook, that seems like a really terrible idea. I wouldn't be on Facebook. If you have any feedback or suggestions for future segments of our show, you can email us at slightlysidewayspod@gmail.com. If you're on Spotify, do be sure to follow our show at Slightly Sideways Podcast. And if you're on YouTube, you can find all of our shows complete with photos and other visual references at Slightly Sideways Podcast. New and exclusive content will be coming to that channel very soon, so do be sure to subscribe so you do not miss a single episode. On tonight's show, we have the Major League Baseball playoffs. We have an update from the NBA Finals. We have Week 3 of the National Football League season. And what else do we have for the people tonight, Corbin?
We also have a wrap-up of the Stanley Cup Finals, as well as a recap of Game 3 of Sheffield United's Premier League season, and then, of course, always ending the show with the unknown. This week, I will be in charge of the unknown, so you want to definitely stick around, especially after I have 6 drinks in me. You're going to want to stick around for the unknown to see what Koenig has to go through.
Oh, man.
But we have a champion in major sports coming from the NHL. The Tampa Bay Lightning are the Stanley Cup champions, defeating the Dallas Stars in a series of 4-2. It is the Lightning's first Cup championship since 2004, so 16 years in the making. Congratulations to the Lightning out there. Even congratulations to the Stars. The Stars, they haven't won a Cup since 99. They haven't been to a Cup, I think, since 2000. So the fact that they're there back in the Cup after 20 years is encouraging for them and their fans. Koenig, was there any surprise in this series? Did the better team win in this series, in your opinion?
The better team won. I knew kind of going into the Lightning series, I'm obviously a Boston Bruins fan. I mean, I'm on the record of our program saying how much of a threat that the Lightning were going to be going into that Bruins series. And so I knew that they were going to be a tough matchup for just about anybody this entire playoffs, and they pretty much went through the entire playoffs uncontested. They had a couple tough games here and there. Yeah, they dropped a couple games, but for the most part, Tampa pretty much breezed through the playoffs. And like Corbin said, congrats to both teams. And really, from me, a huge thank you to all of the players who were out this postseason, who made it such a fun viewer experience. You think about how long all of these players were inside of the bubble in their respective cities, whether they were in Vancouver or whether they were in Toronto, and how long they were away from their family. That's not an easy thing. And so for them to put on a show for us, the fans, obviously an unprecedented season, a season that we'll never forget, but tip of the cap on our end to the players. You made it a memorable season. You made it something fun to watch. Obviously, they were competing for a championship for themselves. It's not like they were playing for just the fans. But my huge concern going into the NHL playoffs was, would it feel like the playoffs? And credit to the players, it absolutely did. And huge thank you to all of those guys for making it an enjoyable season.
Here, here. Very well said. I pretty much agree with every point that you made there. When the playoffs kind of started back up, there was some rust, which was to be expected from the teams as they were kind of going through their preliminary rounds of the playoffs. But by the time the Stanley Cup rolled around, the teams were firing on all cylinders. Both the Lightning and the Stars gave us really exciting, really competitive games to watch, even with the series ending in Game 6. So thank you to the NHL, the players, the staff. It was such a great experience. And yeah. So moving right along, we want to go ahead and jump into the Major League Baseball playoffs. We didn't have a whole lot of coverage on this in our last episode. It's been a little bit different this year with the shortened season. Normally, you have 5 teams for both the National League and the American League that make the playoffs, with 2 wildcard teams playing each other to get that last 4th spot, if you will. And then you've got 4 teams in the NL and then 4 teams in the AL playing each other until you get down to a World Series matchup. This year, we have had 16 teams that have made it. So kind of a little bit of an experimental situation here. How it kind of breaks down to is you've got 8 teams in the National League. There's 8 teams in the American League. They all play each other. 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. It's a 3-game series. We actually have all those series are wrapped up actually tonight before this episode we started recording. The last series had wrapped up. Koenig, do you want to kind of give an overview of who played who and who's going to be playing who in the next round?
It's kind of interesting how the playoffs are actually formatted, because the Major League Baseball playoffs are kind of doing a quasi-bubble themselves. And how it kind of breaks down is you'll have the American League Divisional Series, and you'll have 2 locations. You'll have a San Diego site at Petco Park, and then you'll also have a series that's played at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. And then you'll have the National League Divisional Series. You'll have 1 series taking place at Houston at Minute Maid Park, and you'll have a second series that's taking place in Arlington, Texas at the Rangers' new Globe Life Field. And from there, you'll have the American League Championship Series, which would take place at Petco Park in San Diego. The National League Championship Series would take place at Globe Life Field in Arlington. And finally, the World Series would conclude in Arlington. As far as the series so far, like Corbin said, the wild card round just wrapped up. And the breakdown for that, the Tampa Bay Rays took care of the Toronto Blue Jays 2-0 to win their best-of-3 series. You had the Cleveland Indians falling to the New York Yankees. The Yankees win that series 2-0. The Houston Astros, everyone's favorite team to hate, wins their series against the Minnesota Twins. Poor Minnesota Twins, by the way.
The Twinkies.
They can never get it going. But Houston wins that series 2-0. The A's and the White Sox, actually a very competitive series. It was actually very fun to watch.
That was probably, in my opinion, probably the most exciting series.
I might have another option.
The Padres series was kind of interesting.
Yeah, the Padres was a great series, but the A's do beat the White Sox 2-1 in that series. The Dodgers dispatch the Milwaukee Brewers 2-0. The Slam Diego Padres come to life, winning 2 games in a row to take out the St. Louis Cardinals. How insane. And we'll have some more on that here shortly. You have the Miami Marlins, who beat the Cubs 2-0. They
Gotta love it.
advanced. The Miami Marlins are actually 7-0 in playoff series. They've never lost a playoff series. That like insane to you?
Wait, in their entire existence?
Yeah.
So, because they won the series in what, 97 and 2003. So they pretty much, wow. So they either win the World Series or they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
So,
That's crazy.
Something to keep in mind. You can never rule out the Miami Marlins. And then the last matchup in the National League Wild Card Series, you had the Atlanta Braves shutting out the Cincinnati Reds 2-0. As far as the teams so far, I guess in terms of our knee-jerk reaction after the first round, if you will, of the playoffs, I do kind of feel as though 16 teams is a lot. I mean, you have over half of the league in the playoffs. They just played a 60-game season, and you basically did enough to eliminate the awful teams that had no business being in the playoffs. You know, some of those 8 seeds were like right at 500 between their win and loss record, and even like the teams like the Astros were below 500 at the start of the playoffs. Corbin, is that good for baseball? Is the expanded playoffs bad for baseball? How do you see that?
The best way that I could say it is I think it's brilliantly brutal. And what I mean by that is it's brilliant on the side of baseball to say, okay, we have a shortened season. So already teams are in a hubbub of, oh, well, if we don't make the playoffs, it's because we only played 60 games instead of playing 162. Like, we're missing 102 games that, what if we make a late run to get into the playoffs, right? So baseball is saying, okay, like you mentioned, we're essentially going to have this format that's going to eliminate the obviously bad teams, the bottom 14 that are not going to make it, right? You can't be one of the teams that didn't make it and say, oh, this is unfair, we didn't make the playoffs. Like, really?
Yeah.
You weren't in the top 8 in your league. Like, you have no ground to stand on.
Right.
So how I mean that it is brutal, though, is you have to play an extra series, which is rough, especially when your opening series is a 3-game series. That's such a small sample size. So you're pretty much saying to a team like the Dodgers, now luckily for the Dodgers, they got through their first round matchup, but the Dodgers, a team that's clearly the best team in the National League, right? You're saying to them, okay, well, normally you would have your NLDS and not have to worry about a wild card play-in game, or you'd play the wild card winner, which is you're thinking it's an advantage because they're not a division winner. So you've got your NLDS, then you've got your NLCS, and then you've got your World Series. So you essentially have to win 3 series to win the championship. Well, now you have to win 4, and that first series is the best of 3. So you only have to win 2 games out of 3. So you could run into just some pitcher who has the greatest night of his life that shuts you down, or you could just have a stinker of a game, and the margin for error is minuscule. So for some of these teams, like, let's face it, the Cubs are a better team than the Marlins are. You could argue that if you wanted to, but they are. But in a 3-game series where the Marlins were able to squeak out 2 games, that's all they needed, right? They just needed to win 2 games to get through. So I think it's a little bit of a disadvantage for some of these better teams to pretty much say to them, hey, you have to play an extra series. And oh, by the way, that series is only going to be 3 games max. That's pretty aggressive if you ask me, but I've enjoyed it. It's definitely created some drama, and the games have been good in my opinion. Koenig, your thoughts?
I think I read something on social media today. This would be the first year ever where the World Series champion will have to win 13 games to win a championship.
Wow.
So it's brutal in Corbin's sense, like he said, that yes, the playoffs have expanded. Yes, there's more opportunities for you to get knocked off. And yes, you have to win even more games than you had in the past to win that championship. And maybe in a shortened season, that's not as big of a deal as maybe as it would be in like a 162 game season. Like, oh, you got to win even more games, and your guys are crawling across the finish line because you just played this marathon season. It's a little bit different circumstances, but nonetheless, the teams have to do that. And I'm looking at a team like the Padres, and I rewind to last night, to game 2, And St. Louis is up 4-0 against the Padres. And I know a lot of people still in San Diego. They're singing their swan song. They're just like, oh, it's over. We waited 10 years to go back to the playoffs. Like, we're out. And the photos on YouTube will fact check me on this, but I'm pretty confident that this is the first time the Padres came back from a 4-0 deficit in a playoff game. Before this point, they had never won. And this is
that was in game 2, a game that if they would have lost, they would have been eliminated.
Yes, exactly. And I think this is either the first time or the second time the Cardinals had ever lost a playoff game after being up 4 runs. So it's the first time ever for both of these teams, and it's a total coming out party for Fernando Tatis Jr. He has 2 massive home runs in game 2 to kind of bring them back. Manny Machado goes back-to-back with Fernando Tatis. That home run gave the Padres the lead. You had Will Myers, who cranked out 2 of his own. And so credit to the Padres, man. They were up against the wall, and they fought back.
Did you see the stat that so Myers and Tatis both had 2 home runs in that game, and the only other tandem to do that in playoff history was Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig?
What a stat.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That was pretty cool.
I
don't mean to interrupt you there. I just had to put that in there. I thought that was so cool.
No, that's a great stat, and maybe the people at home didn't know that. I mean, I was
88 years ago. Yeah. 88 years. This has not happened.
That's amazing.
Especially in a day and age where the home run is expected, right?
Right.
Like when you turn on a baseball game, if you don't see home runs, it's boring, right?
Yeah.
So to think that this hasn't happened in 88 years it's wild. It's crazy.
What also blows my mind about that whole situation is like this happened in Petco Park, which is a quote unquote pitcher friendly ballpark.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like they're launching them out of like Yankee Stadium or something like that, right? Like a launch pad like that. So, and I thought it was too. I was watching the Padre game kind of at the same time I was watching Thursday Night Football, and we'll get to that on tonight's show also. I'm watching both games at the same time, and I saw the Cardinals all over the Padres, and this is after, like Corbin said, after they had already won game 1. And the Padres are perennial losers. They've never won anything, and I'm like, oh, they're just going to lay up and die. But credit to their superstars. Fernando Tatis, if you didn't know him, maybe if you live on the East Coast, you don't watch a lot of Padre games, you know him now, because I think he single-handedly won that series for San Diego.
I love Tatis. I'm so worried that in 3 or 4 years you're going to see this guy in a Dodgers jersey or a Yankees jersey or a Red Sox jersey. You'd love that.
Yeah, I would.
You would love that.
I would.
Yeah. Be not surprised, because let's get real. Players want to get paid, and the Padres, I'll give them credit. The Padres have spent some money the last few years that they normally do not do, but this guy is playing so well, he's going to be getting some superstar money, and I don't know if the Padres are going to be able to afford or even want to pay that kind of money.
Yeah, that's fair. But we do want to preview the rest of the postseason with you. This is a little bit of a MLB postseason preview and predictions, and we will start with the National League. And for the National League, I can't pick the Dodgers because that's sacrilege. So I'm going to pick the Atlanta Braves. And I really feel as though the Braves, and Corbin, I know how you might feel about the Braves. You're a Mets fan. But I do think that the Braves are the most balanced team in the playoffs because they can beat you a bunch of different ways. They have an explosive offense. They can produce offensively with their bats. You got Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna Jr., even Marcell Ozuna from out of nowhere is having a phenomenal year.
The guy's researched his entire career. I mean, He was up and coming when he was in Miami. He went to the Cardinals and just laid a dump on the Cardinals. And everybody thought, oh, this guy, like, he had no pressure in Miami. That's why he was playing so well. Then he gets to Atlanta and starts to tear it back up again. The guy's been a stud.
Absolutely unreal how he's revolutionized his career. In this season, batting .338 with 18 home runs, 49 home runs in a standard season, which is insane.
Yeah, nuts.
But the Braves can absolutely score. But even on days where the Braves can't score, I think they can beat you with pitching. And in the postseason, I always give my edge to quality bullpen. I think a good bullpen is what gets you there in the playoffs. And I think the Braves might have the best bullpen in all of baseball. They have 4 legitimate relievers in Shane Green, AJ Winter, Darren O'Day, and Chris Martin, who can eat innings from their starters. You keep your starters fresh. You keep them alive for an extended playoff. And, oh, by the way, those 4 relievers that I mentioned all have an ERA below 1.
Oof.
So,
That's
very
nasty.
tough to beat. You get the Braves to the 5th inning, and then you get Shane Green, AJ Winter, Darren O'Day, and Chris Martin. It's over. Corbin, who do you like out of the National League?
Obviously, I can't pick the Braves. I really, and excuse my language, people out there, I fucking hate the Braves. Pretty much my entire childhood growing up in the 90s, the Braves were always winning the NL East, and I fucking hated it. But I do honestly think that this is going to be the year that the Dodgers, I think the Dodgers are going to finally win the World Series. And this will be the year to do it, right? Like they always find a way to choke it somehow, albeit you got the Astros who are cheating against them, banging on trash cans. I think this is it. They've got no fans. There's no pressure from the fans to do well because obviously there's nobody there. They have arguably the most talented lineup in baseball, hitting-wise. When their pitchers are pitching well, I think their starting rotation is very good. I just have a hunch on the Dodgers that they're going to finally get it together. They're actually going to be my pick to win the World Series.
Wow.
So not even just get there. I think the Dodgers are going to win the World Series. I hope I'm wrong because I really, if you're not a fan of the Padres, there's something wrong with you. Like you can't hate the Padres. They're the stepchild of the Dodgers, the Giants, even the A's who are in the American League. Nobody ever really pays mind to the Padres. They're always kind of pushed away as this low market team. So the fact to see them doing as well as they are with arguably the most exciting player in baseball right now in Fernando Tatis Jr., I would love to see the Padres beat the Dodgers. Do I think it's going to happen? No. The Padres won Game 2 and Game 3 with like a combined 18 pitchers. They threw 9 pitchers in Game 2 and 9 pitchers in Game 3.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable, especially against an offense that's as good as the Dodgers. You just can't do that. I know they're trying to copy the Milwaukee Brewers from a couple years ago when the Brewers were throwing a reliever every inning to kind of keep the other team off guard as far as what pitches were coming in or familiarity. So I get it. It's very gimmicky. Sometimes it can work, but I just don't think that's going to fly. I don't think their starting pitching is that great, honestly. They have players who can pitch well. I really do like Chris Paddock. I think he's a really young, good player who's going to be great someday, but I'm just not sold on their pitching right now. So the Dodgers are my pick in the West. Koenig, who do you like in the American League?
Right before we get into the American League, I do just want to highlight a point that we made kind of at the beginning of our baseball season. You'd have to rewind a few episodes to find this take. A point that I made a few episodes ago was that a shortened season really favors small market teams, players that don't have as many big time superstars. And just look at some of the teams that made the playoffs. Granted, some of these teams will be eliminated, but we'll kind of work through this. The Tampa Bay Rays, I think that's a small market team. The Toronto Blue Jays, might be a small market team in there. I don't think you could say the Indians are really small market. Neither are the Yankees, neither are the Astros, but like the Twins, the Moneyball A's, the White Sox, the Padres, they're spending some money, but people still consider the Padres a small market team. You have the Miami Marlins who got in, the Reds got in. And so, like we mentioned at the beginning of this whole season, this is a season that really favors those teams that can have the opportunity to play their superstars every game and not have to take so many rest days and maintenance days. And that's exactly the way that it played out this season.
So I actually think a shortened season and why some of these teams have gotten to where they are is because a shortened season benefits teams that don't have the best starting pitching.
Right.
And again, teams like the Marlins, like the Padres, I don't think their starting pitching is that great, but when you have a 60-game season and you only have to make 12 starts, you don't have to worry about lasting an entire 162-game season, right? The wear and tear is nowhere near the level that it usually is. So you could go out there and you could pitch longer, you can throw harder, and you could take more risk, essentially, if you will. And I think you see that in teams, again, like the Marlins and the Padres and even the Jays, for that matter. So I think that's a huge factor on top of what you said as well. So if you had a 162 game season and you had the regular playoff format, I don't really think that you see these teams, honestly. You like to think that you hope to see a team like the Padres who played so well this 60 game season. But again, that's another 102 games. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah, that's very fair. So we have our picks in the National League. We do want to move into the American League. My favorite in the American League, I will go with the one-seeded Tampa Bay Rays. This is a team that I feel like has kind of shined all season long. And how did a team like Tampa Bay get to their record? They finished the season with 40 wins and 20 losses, in large part by winning the season series against the presumptive American League favorite New York Yankees, 8-2. Pretty amazing. You consider a team like Tampa Bay beat this juggernaut in the Yankees. But the Tampa Bay Rays are a team that really hangs their hat in their pitching, and they have a lot of it. They've got 3 really good starting pitchers. They've got Blake Snell, Charlie Morton, and Tyler Glasnow that kind of anchor their rotation. You go up against those 3 guys in a 5-game series, even a 7-game series. Those 3 guys right there could really shut you down. And realistically, you only need 5 quality innings from those pitchers because the bullpen in Tampa is incredibly deep, led, of course, by Nick Anderson. He's probably been the best closer in all of baseball this year, especially since the trade deadline. He's really turned it on late in the season. The Rays might not be able to score a lot of runs. They don't have a bunch of bright, shiny players like maybe the Yankees have or the Dodgers have or some of these bigger market teams. But I do think, like I said before, in the playoffs, I favor a team that has quality pitching, that's deep in their bullpen. That team, and you see this a lot of times with managers, they are so conservative with their starters in the playoffs. It seems like if it's the 5th inning and you get in a jam, the starter's coming out and you're going to the bullpen. Those type of situations favor teams like Tampa, teams like Atlanta, teams that have the bullpen that can come in and eat those innings and keep everybody fresh for the long haul. And I do think that in the playoffs, especially, good pitching beats good offense. So I do want to pick Tampa Bay to make it out of the American League. Corbin, what are your thoughts on the American League?
I 1,000,000% agree with you. I think the Rays are the pick. Just as you mentioned, their pitching from their starters to their relievers is outstanding. Their offense does enough. I don't think that their offense is poor. I mean, like you mentioned, there's teams like the Yankees who just have a deathly offense from top to bottom. But like you mentioned, especially in the playoffs, pitching reigns supreme. Like, that's fine. If you can hit, that's great. But if you come up against a stellar pitcher, more often than not, you're going to lose. So I'm going to take the team that can pitch well, especially in the postseason. I don't know what's in the water in Tampa, but the Rays, this small market team that plays in arguably one of the toughest divisions in baseball against the Yankees and the Red Sox, albeit the Red Sox were poor this year. But even a team like the Jays, who the Jays were in the playoffs, which Tampa beat to get to the next round,
Yep.
They just, what an amazingly run organization where they have one of the smallest budgets in baseball year in and year out. And here they are just winning the division, getting into the playoffs consistently. There's just something about the Rays that you just have to love. I'll take the Rays, who've been the most consistent so far. I also like Oakland, but I don't want to, again, 2 small market teams.
Yeah.
Be not surprised if it's a Rays-Oakland series that goes to 7 in the American League, but I'll take the Rays. And then, like I mentioned before, the Dodgers over the Rays in the World Series.
Yeah, it's fair. And it feels like it's been a long time coming for the Rays. I'm a noted Red Sox fan. I'm obviously really well versed on what's going on in the American League East just because I kind of live it and I breathe it every single year. Unfortunate for the Red Sox, we kind of took a year off, like I said, but we'll get back out there next year. But the Rays have kind of been a team that's just kind of been hanging around, and they've always been competitive. And even when they weren't good, quote unquote, they would still compete and fight, and they're an incredibly hard-working team. And as a Red Sox fan, like even the years where like we were going to the playoffs and we won a World Series a couple years ago, it was like the Rays would always play us hard. Like every single series, whether we were at the Trop or whether we were at Fenway, it was always a tough series against Tampa. And a lot of times Tampa would win those series, and it was with a bunch of guys like you'd never heard of. And so, like I said to begin this statement, this has been a long time coming for Tampa Bay. They've really started to put their pieces together to make a run at the playoffs. And I mean, I don't hate the Rays like I do the Yankees. Obviously, there's some sort of adversity there because, they play in the same division, but I don't think anybody wishes bad things on the Tampa Bay Rays. Like, I think they're a good story, and I think it's good to see that they're playing so well. So we will kind of get into those division series by next episode. I'm sure we'll recap the divisional series and kind of look forward to the championship series. But we do want to transition into the NBA Finals. And like we kind of previewed on last week's episode, we do have the Los Angeles Lakers matching up against the Miami Heat. Heat were able to finish off the Boston Celtics in 6 games, fortunately. But so far, here in the NBA Finals, not so much of a series. As I predicted on the last episode, I did say that I think that the Celtics matched up better with the Lakers than the Heat did. Granted, that's a hypothetical scenario. We don't know how the Celtics would have fared.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. But could it be any worse? And that's kind of the question we're thinking about today. You have the Los Angeles Lakers winning Game 2, 124-114. And that was after they absolutely ran train in Game 1. And the final score doesn't even do it justice. The final score, the Lakers win the game by 18 points. But really, the Miami Heat were getting blown the fuck out of the water. Like, they were never in that fucking game.
Even tonight, 124-114, like you think, like, okay, 10 points, it's not like brutally bad. No, like another game that the Lakers just trounced them. And it just kind of leads to believe, like, is this a sweep in the making? Can the Heat even win a game? Koenig, does this series even interest you at this point? Do you even have interest to tune in to see what's going to happen?
No, I don't. And I mean,
no.
And I'm a casual NBA fan, and that's putting it like lightly. I really am very just whatever about the NBA. You had big shot Jimmy Butler coming out before Game 2. He's like, "Oh yeah, our backs are against the wall. I guarantee it. We'll win Game 2." No, dude, you got embarrassed just like you did in Game 1.
And what an idiot! Like, okay, first of all, you're clearly not the better team, and the other team, LeBron and Anthony Davis, are clearly the 2 best players on the court. And you could even argue that, like, when Kyle Kuzma plays really, really well, he might be the 3rd best player.
Ugh.
I mean, you could argue it. Rondo?
Rondo?
But here's the thing. Here's a team led by LeBron James, who's been there, done that, won championships, albeit he's had the team up with his buddies the whole time. But that's a whole different story. Why are you poking the bear that is already kicking your ass, right? Like, this bear is ripping you to shreds. You pray and hope that this bear leaves you alone. Maybe you can steal a game or 2 and get some kind of momentum. But no, as this bear is taking a break from ripping you to shreds, you say, hey, is that all you got? Are you kidding me? And then boom, the bear comes right back and kicks the shit out of you again, which is exactly what happened in Game 2. Like, you're just adding fuel to the fire. You're not making your situation any better. Why are you saying, I mean, I understand, somebody asks you, hey, are you going to win Game 2? You're not going to be like, oh, no, we're going to lose. But don't come out here and say, oh, I guarantee that we're going to win Game 2. Dude, you're setting yourself up for a nice sweep. Like, you're going to get a sponsorship from Libman Cleaning Company for Libman brooms because you're about to get swept the fuck out of here.
Libman? Wink. But, no, it's going to be a sweep. There's no doubt about it. LeBron James is kind of handling his business like I handle my workday on Fridays. It's like, we got a nice vacation coming up here. Yep, let's just pound this shit out nice and quick and get it over with. That's exactly what's going to happen to Miami. They're just going to get flattened in this series.
I think, and this is me being drunkly optimistic, I think the Heat are going to win 1 game. And it's going to be like the Lakers missed the last shot and the Heat won by 1 point. Like, they're going to squeak it out. I'm going to say the Heat are going to win Game 3. It's going to be 99-98, and it's going to be a total fluke win for the Heat, and everyone's going to be like, oh, look, the Heat can beat the Lakers. And then the Lakers are going to fucking trounce them in Game 4 and Game 5.
On Slightly Sideways, we do like to do things a little bit differently, and Corbin seems to be so confident in the Miami Heat winning a game. I wonder if he'd want to put a wager on that.
No!
You don't want to wager it?
I need to know the wager first.
I will say that the Lakers are going to sweep the Miami Heat, and then you're drunkenly optimistic that the Miami Heat will win 1 game. And by this point at our show for episode 12, we'll kind of know whether the
series
will be over.
Yeah. Well, the
So,
series will be over because whether it's
regardless,
4 games or 5 games, the series will be over.
Yeah.
But we'll know ultimately next show what happened.
do you want to do a shot wager? If the Lakers sweep, you will take a shot, and if the Miami Heat somehow win a game, I will do a shot.
How about this? Because I'm going out on a limb for the
I'll
viewers.
do 2 shots.
That's what I was going to say. I'll do 2-1 odds. So I'll do a shot if the Heat win 1 game, and if the Lakers sweep them, which, let's get real, is a very, very good possibility.
Yeah.
Then okay, so 2-1 odds. 1 for me, 2 for you.
Yeah.
I'll take that for sure.
So
And honestly, you have the way better odds. So
I do, and that's why I'm okay with saying
doing you a favor.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm okay saying, like, I'll do the 2 shots if Miami wins a game, and then Corbin will do the 1 shot if the Lakers sweep. That's fair.
That's fair. And you know what? We want to keep it interesting here on Slightly Sideways. Even if I'm wrong, it'll be fun and whatever.
We're trying to mix things up here for you people. We're trying to keep it entertaining. Hopefully you guys are enjoying that. And one last thing about the Lakers before we kind of transition topics. I hate the Lakers. It's well established. Corbin, you hate the Lakers too. You're a Suns fan. What I will say is, as somebody who appreciates the history of the Lakers franchise, I do want to say how happy I am that the Lakers are having success on the season where Kobe Bryant was tragically killed in that helicopter accident. A terrible tragedy, obviously. Kobe gone way too soon. And obviously they wear, the black Mamba jerseys and everything. I don't think they've even lost since they started wearing those. And for the Lakers to win and to honor his legacy by going out and playing the way that they've played and to win a championship on the year that he lost his life is pretty incredible.
I will say this about Kobe Bryant, and this is, again, a lifelong Suns fan. And being a Suns fan, I've seen them play the Lakers countless times because they play in the same division. And I've seen many, many instances where Kobe Bryant destroys the Suns. And as a player, I hated Kobe Bryant because he was so damn good, but I respected the hell out of how good he was. Yeah. Right? There's a clear line between, oh, I hate him because he's killing my team, and oh, I respect him because this guy is next level, right? Like one of the greatest players that we've ever seen or will ever see. It is really awesome to see the Lakers do well, especially honoring his legacy with obviously what happened over the past year. So I'll still never like the Lakers, no matter what. Right. But if they win, it'll be very, very cool for Kobe Bryant and all their fans. So that is neat. That's a beautiful thing about sports is you could hate a team as much as I hate the Lakers, but you could also have respect for a team and respect for individuals like I do for Kobe Bryant. So if the Lakers win, that'd be a wonderful story. I mean, let's face it, they are going to win.
Yeah.
So in 2 games or 3 games from now, they'll be champions, and kudos to them. Although, still don't like how LeBron had to team up with Anthony Davis, but that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of that meme that you see, I wish they would have told you were in the good old days when you were in the good old days.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you talk about the older generation, like our parents, so that we got to watch Magic Johnson, or we got to watch Larry Bird, or we got to watch Hakeem the Dream, or all these guys that are phenomenal and they'll go down to some of the best players to play the game. I feel like at times maybe I took for granted how good Kobe was.
Yeah.
It's like he's going to go down as one of the best basketball players ever. And I had the joy of growing up, and granted, I'm not a huge basketball fan now, but when I was a kid, I was huge into the NBA. And I had the joy and the honor and the privilege of being able to watch one of the best, no question about it, of all time to play the game, and how effortlessly he made playing basketball. And so, I'll reiterate what Corbin said. I'm happy for the Lakers. I'm happy for their fans. They absolutely deserve it. It's been a while since they've had a couple stinker years before, LeBron came over and did what he did. But for the year that's transpired for the Los Angeles community, for the people that Kobe had such a significant impact on their lives, really, really cool to see that the Lakers are doing it this way.
We'll leave it there. We don't want to just sit here and just kiss the feet of the Lakers and Kobe Bryant, which I'm happy to do for Kobe, but not for the Laker fans. So we'll go ahead and we'll move away from this topic here. So We'll give you more update on that Lakers-Miami series. Like we mentioned, it's going to be over by the time next Friday rolls around, so we'll know who wins that bet for the shot or the double shot. Moving right along, we will go ahead and go into the NFL Week 3.
Yes.
So to kind of preview this here, so we have some teams that are 3-0 still, so teams that have not lost. We've got the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Tennessee Titans, the Seattle Seahawks, the Green Bay Packers, and finally the Chicago Bears. All 3-0. Koenig, of those teams that are undefeated right now, any teams that you see that are going to fall off, teams that are going to continue their success?
I would say out of the teams that are still undefeated, I think I'm the most surprised about the Chicago Bears.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, last week, Mitch Trubisky rides the pine and Big Dick Nick Foles gets the nod against the Atlanta Falcons. And that's kind of an interesting development. But I'm a little bit hesitant to say, like, the Bears are the surprise just because of the opponents they've played. You know, you talk about the fact that they've played 3 games so far. Their opponent's combined record is 1-9, and that's the Detroit Lions winning their 1 game against the Arizona Cardinals. The Bears, they also beat the Falcons, they also beat the Giants, and both of those teams are 0-3.
There's also the Lions, who had a huge lead on the Bears and totally collapsed, and even had a drop that the Lions had a drop touchdown pass under a minute left that essentially sealed their fate, and they lost. So yes, the Bears have been getting by on the hair of their chinny chin chin.
Yeah, for sure. And like we said, the Bears, huge surprise being 3-0, but as their schedule develops, as they get into some of their more difficult games, they're going to have to play the Packers twice. And the Packers are on pace to score like 40 points a game this season. They're like next level, just crushing it. But yes, the Bears are a surprise. Can they sustain that over the course of a season? I would probably say no. But I think if you ask Corbin and I where the Bears would be at in week 3, I don't think either one of us would have said that the Bears would be 3-0. So credit to them, they're winning. Granted, they're playing some shitty teams, but they're still winning the games. As far as impact players, as far as players that are making a splash through 3 games of the season, it's way too early to decide this, but if you had to pick a way too early MVP, who's your standout candidate for MVP this year?
So I have a without a doubt answer, and then I have a extreme dark horse answer.
Give me your dark horse answer.
Okay, so your dark horse answer, I'm going to go with Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills. This is a guy that I'll be the first to admit, I don't think he's a very accurate passer, or at least I didn't think that when the season started, right? It's a kid who's coming out of Wyoming, a lesser school in the Mountain West. No offense, Koenig. I'm a San Diego State fan. But
Wyoming sucks. It's fine.
Just seemed to be like a chucker, right? Like he could throw the ball far, and Buffalo drafted him because their weather sucks, and he could throw the ball hard to that disgusting wind, ice, snow, whatever they get in Buffalo, right? And I've never been too keen on Josh Allen, but the dude has 10 touchdowns and 1 interception in the first 3 games, which is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, pretty good.
Now, albeit, I will put some reservation that 2 of those games were against the Jets and the Dolphins, so we'll get to the Jets here in a second.
He led that comeback in week 3 against the Rams. That was pretty impressive.
Yes, but a lot of people would argue that the Rams should have won that game because of a controversial pass interference call.
True.
So depending on where you're at on that situation, the fact still remains that the Bills are 3-0, and Josh Allen has 10 touchdowns and 1 interception. So he's averaging over 3 touchdown passes a game. And Stephon Diggs has been helping him big time in Buffalo. So that's my dark horse. I don't think they're going to keep that up because they're going to have to start to play better teams that are not the Jets and the Dolphins. So I think there's going to be more room for error. The obvious choice for MVP, or is week 3 so early MVP, is Russell Wilson. Yeah, let's get real. The guy has 14 touchdowns and 1 turnover.
Insane.
I think he broke the record of Patrick Mahomes, which was 13, which everybody thought would for the first 3 weeks that nobody thought would ever be broken, right?
Right.
And the thing about Russell Wilson that's just so wonderful is he doesn't say anything. He's so well respected. He just goes out there. He just does the job. After he's murdered you on the field, comes in, he's got nothing but nice things to say about his team and the other team, and just
Yeah.
goes on with his business. Just a class act, just the silent killer, right? Like the guy just comes out and does everything right. Now, there's still a ton of season to be played, and we've seen this before where guys start hot and then they kind of cool down, if you will. But my goodness, Russell Wilson is playing out of his mind right now. Koenig.
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson is my way too early MVP, and I don't even think it's too early at this point. And I'll tell you why. So I'm up in the Seattle market. Obviously, people in Seattle think Russell Wilson's the second coming of Jesus Christ. Like, they think this guy is like the bee's knees, right? And he is. This guy is just absolutely lighting the league on fire this season. He had another, ho-hum game against the Dallas Cowboys in week 3. He threw for over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. Just another day at the office in Seattle. And like Corbin said, he threw for 4 touchdowns in week 1 against the Panthers. He threw another 5 touchdowns against the Patriots in week 2. So those 14 touchdown passes, like Corbin said, are an NFL record through 3 weeks. Is that sustainable? That's the question. That's the question that everyone's asking. 3 games into a 16-game season, can Russell Wilson sustain that success? And my answer is, yeah, I think he can. You got Tyler Lockett, who I think is a very talented receiver.
He's been a monster. He's got 4 touchdowns already.
He's incredible. And like DK Metcalf is an up-and-coming talent. He's a phenomenal player. And so the thing that I think really makes Russell Wilson shine, aside from everything that Corbin has said, is he is a quarterback that doesn't take a lot of chances. He doesn't take a lot of big hits.
Never turns the ball over. Hardly
never.
Ever.
It's crazy. He always gets down. He always slides. He always avoids contact whenever he can. When you're talking about a quarterback that has had the success that he's had, everyone says, oh, well, it's not sustainable because he's a mobile quarterback and he's going to take some funky hit and he's going to get hurt or whatever. But Russell Wilson is not that kind of guy. He's not like a Cam Newton who's trying to run through you. Like, he is always smart about putting himself in the proper positions to not take those massive hits. And so I think when you're talking about like season-long durability, I think Russell Wilson holds up. I think he's got the talent around him to be successful. So, yeah, Russell Wilson, without a doubt, the guy's going to set records this season. I'm very confident of that.
Trivia question.
Uh-oh.
So obviously the Seahawks drafted Russell Wilson, I think in the 3rd or 4th round, way back when, if I can remember. But they drafted him with the idea that he was going to be the backup to what quarterback?
Shit.
The Seahawks brought this guy in from a different team to be the starter because he took over for an injured quarterback and played really well, at least, for that shortened season, he played really well. And then the Seahawks threw big money at this guy to come in. And then before the season started, Pete Carroll came out and said, no, Russell Wilson is actually the guy. He is much better. And it was a big story at first. And then Russell Wilson started playing. And then people were like, oh, shit, like Russell Wilson is way better than this guy.
My gut instinct is telling me Matt Hasselbeck. But
No.
I think that's like way too early.
That is way too early. Matt Hasselbeck was the starter for quite a while, back when they had like Sean Alexander.
Yeah. We want the ball. We're going to score.
So, do you want me to give you the correct answer?
Yeah.
The correct answer is Matt Flynn from Green Bay.
Aaron Rodgers' backup. Yeah.
Yeah, so he took over for Rodgers after Rodgers had gotten hurt for the rest of the season, and he played, at least the eye test, it looked like he played really well. The Seahawks threw a ton of money at this guy, and then before the season even started, Pete Carroll was like, no, actually, this rookie, we got Russell Wilson, who's undersized, undervalued, is much better. And people were like, oh, how could you play this rookie who is a later round pick over this guy that you paid all this money to? And then you see Russell Wilson play, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. I understand why.
Yeah, incredible player.
So Matt Flynn is now an absolute afterthought, and Russell Wilson is one of the best players in the NFL, who has been for years.
Yeah. He was a huge piece of the Seahawks' back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. Granted, they won one, they lost one, thanks to...
Should have won two.
They should have won two. As a Patriots fan, that'll still be one of the weirdest moments in Super Bowl history, probably.
I couldn't believe that. That play call was one of the absolute. Nobody can deny that play call was the absolute worst play call probably ever.
Ever. Yeah, I still don't. And you have to consider, like, Marshawn Lynch was the biggest back in the league back then. It's like
he was the shit.
Yes, like you needed 1, 2, 3 yards, you give the ball to Marshawn, and he just pounds that shit in there, and Skittles man and all that shit. But like, man, Seahawks, yeah, I'll be the first to tell you, they should have went back to back, 100%.
So the question remains. We've talked about the teams that have done well so far, our MVP so far. Again, it's week 3, so things could drastically change. We know that, but we're just kind of giving our opinion, what we've seen so far. Koenig, in your opinion, who is the worst team in the NFL right now? Is it either of the New York teams, the Falcons, or other?
So if the question was who's the biggest choke artist in football, I think I'd have to give that to the Falcons.
That's okay. Fair enough.
But I really do feel like it's the Jets, and I feel like what sucks for the Giants is they're terrible because their best player is injured and out for the year. I really don't have an explanation for why the Jets are as bad as they are. They go up on Thursday Night Football against a very bad Denver Broncos team led by Brett Ripien, who was absolutely atrocious in that game. But aside from a 46-yard touchdown scamper, Sam Darnold looked even worse. And Corbin mentioned this to me during Thursday Night Football. Broncos quarterback Brett Ripien threw more touchdowns to Jets players than Sam Darnold did. So it really does feel like the Jets are in full-on tank mode. Corbin, you're the Jets fan. What is going on in New York?
Oh my gosh. This is the first time in a long time that I've actually wanted my team, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever, that I've wanted them to lose because I absolutely hate the Jets head coach, Adam Gase. I think he's one of the worst coaches. He was terrible in Miami. Somehow he gets fired from there and immediately gets a job with the Jets because he's this quarterback guru. First of all, he didn't do shit with Ryan Tannehill in Miami to the point where Tannehill pretty much got run out of town and ended up in Tennessee for the Titans. Now, albeit, I don't want to dog Tannehill, but that entire offense in Tennessee is based around Derrick Henry, a running back. Yeah. So pretty much all Tannehill has to do is hand the ball off and not screw up on a play-action pass. So Adam Gase gets hired at the Jets because he's this huge quarterback guru, and we've got Sam Darnold, who's this superstar in the making. Now, albeit, I think Darnold has the ability to be good. I don't think he has the ability to be great anymore. When they first drafted him, I thought, oh, this guy could be great, right? Yeah. But let's face it, he's a USC quarterback. Very few. It took Carson Palmer nearly 10 years of his career before he fucking figured it out in the NFL. Other than that, USC quarterbacks are a disaster. Matt Leinart, Mark Sanchez, Sam Darnold. He has his moments, but he makes these bonehead mistakes where he just, it's hard to explain. You just have to see him play to understand. But anyhow, they hire Adam Gase because he's this quarterback genius, right? He's going to take Sam Darnold and he's going to propel him to Peyton Manning status, to Tom Brady status, right? Like he's going to be the next best superstar in the NFL. If anything, he has digressed. And this is after Todd Bowles, who was our previous head coach, who was a defensive-minded head coach.
Who was also terrible.
Yes, very true. But the fact that Sam Darnold was he did more with Todd Bowles than he did with Adam Gase is just like mind-blowing, right? Like your mind just explodes. And the team has given up on Adam Gase. Like you mentioned, Brett Ripien, a third-string quarterback from Boise State in his first ever start for the Broncos on the road on the East Coast, a 3-hour difference, which is proven to be a difficult scenario for a lot of teams and a lot of players to travel over time zones like that, throws more touchdowns to Jets players on a pick six. He threw 3 interceptions. Brett Ripien of the Broncos threw 3 interceptions, and they
won the game.
They won that game by over 2 possessions. So it wasn't like it was like a 1-point game that they squeaked out. Now, albeit they scored a touchdown late, which created a 2-possession game, but the team has given up. There's no weapons on offense other than Le'Veon Bell, who's hurt, so he didn't play. There's no receivers. Darnold has no options to the point where he had to run for a 46-yard touchdown was a goddamn miracle. He got hurt in the first half, and everybody thought, okay, this is your, like, savior, right? Sam Darnold. So he's hurt. Just sit him, take the loss, like, whatever. No, Adam Gase, let's throw him back out there. Like, why not, right? Like, what have we got to lose other than your only bright spot in the eyes of the organization? He goes back out there, does fucking nothing because he's got nothing to work with. His offensive line sucks. His receivers suck. His running backs, no Le'Veon Bell suck. It is frustrating. The Jets, I am convinced the Jets are trying to lose on purpose. I am convinced. And all the speculation has been, if the Jets lose to the Broncos. Now, mind you, the Broncos are terrible. They have no Von Miller. They're on their 3rd-string quarterback. They're not good. So the Broncos are a team that you should beat if you're a somewhat okay team. I honestly think the Jets are trying to lose on purpose to get Adam Gase fired. Everybody thought, we're going to fire Adam Gase after week 4 if they lose to the Broncos. As soon as that game ends, the ownership comes out, we have no intent to get rid of Adam Gase anytime soon. Are you fucking kidding me? This guy was god-awful last year. Yeah. The team is significantly worse this year, and you're going to keep this fucking clown who's had 0 success in the NFL? Honestly, I'm a huge Jets fan, but to the Jets ownership, fuck you. The fact that you will keep this guy who is blatantly doing one of the worst jobs possible for God knows what reason. Maybe they're embarrassed to say that they made the wrong decision again. Yeah. But what's even worse is even if they fired him, they'd have to turn over the head coaching job to fucking Greg Williams, who's part of fucking Bounty Gate for the Saints. Yeah, so it's just embarrassment after embarrassment. The Jets fucking suck. Honestly, I don't even know if they're going to win 1 game. The Jets are going to win 0 fucking games this year. They're going to go 0-16. We're going to get a 1st-round pick. We're going to fuck that up. We're going to draft some fucking linebacker out of Kent State 1st overall because we're fucking dumb as shit like that. And we're going to be forever a terrible team because the fucking Johnsons own this team and they're fucking goons.
Yeah, they're terrible. And like Corbin said, I'm just so amazed at how Adam Gase still has a job for all of the reasons that Corbin's already said.
How anybody has a job in that organization. Yeah, I could literally go in there day one, take a dump on the desk, and that would be more productive than anything that they've done over the last 10 years.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I knew that the Jets were kind of going to be up shit creek, especially once, Jamal Adams went to the Seahawks. But it's like Corbin said, you lose to the Broncos team. The Jets had no business losing to that Broncos team. Like, none. They're on their 3rd-string quarterback, Brett Ripien, out of Boise State. And you're telling me that Broncos team, without their best defensive player in Von Miller, is going to beat the Jets in the Meadowlands? Adam Gase, this guy has got to have like a lucky rabbit's foot in his sock or like a 4-leaf clover between his butt cheeks or something, because how this dude still has a job. I was convinced. Corbin and I were both convinced. We're both watching the Thursday night football game while we're watching the Padres. And we both were kind of saying back and forth to each other, if this dude isn't fired, whether it's after this game or tomorrow morning, we'll have no idea what the fuck the Jets are doing. And sure enough, ownership came out immediately after the game and said they had no intention of firing this guy. Are you fucking kidding me? And I mean, I'm not even a Jets fan, and I fucking feel bad for this guy, my buddy over here, because you have to deal with, in my eyes, he's the worst fucking coach in football. I think Thursday Night Football wrapped it up. There's no more discussion about it. Adam Gase, he's an absolute disaster for the Jets, and I don't know what it's going to take. If Thursday Night Football isn't going to be the straw that broke the camel's back, what is it going to take to get Adam Gase out of New York? I really don't know.
It's a never-ending saga as a Jets fan, and honestly, I wish I could tell you that I'm not used to it, but I'm used to it. Moving on to everybody's favorite segment, soccer. Scott Jones, We know that you are intently listening. Koenig, do you want to give everybody a little brief update on what happened in Game 3 of the Premier League for Sheffield United?
So Sheffield United, unfortunately, they had a game against Leeds United, who was recently promoted from the Championship, the league right below the Premier League. And Sheffield, unfortunately, concedes a late goal in the 87th minute. Corbin and I had pulled an all-nighter. Corbin went to bed for a little bit, but he woke up at 4 in the morning.
I went to bed for 1 hour.
What, 1 hour? Yeah, we were trying to make it.
I was 3 times more tired when I woke up than when I went to bed.
And that's why I knew it was a bad idea. But we were up at 4 in the morning watching soccer, and unfortunate for Sheffield United, they concede in the 87th minute of their 90-minute contest against Leeds United. They do drop 1-0. They lose their third game out of 3 opportunities. And Corbin and I have been discussing this pretty much at length this week. It really makes you wonder, what is Sheffield lacking? And for me, it's always just been they lack decent scoring opportunities. They lack decent scorers, people that can put the ball in the net. They're not necessarily a team that's very fast. The fact that Sheffield doesn't have a quality goal scorer, and the fact that they don't have players who can beat you with their speed, and this is kind of what I wanted to get into before the show tonight, is what Sheffield really needs right now is that threat. And they do sign a new player from Liverpool, a big contract, a new player coming in that can hopefully give them that versatility at the top of the field. But my whole perspective on Sheffield, the fact that they haven't won a game yet, they haven't scored a goal yet in 3 games. And here's my biggest reason why. Sheffield doesn't have anybody who can score. They don't have anybody that's fast enough to get behind the back line of defense. And I feel like these teams in the Premier League, they know that. And I feel like teams that know that you lack very good scorers can push further and further and further up the field. All of their players can push further up the field. And so they can be more aggressive. And they can have more of the ball. And what ends up happening then is Sheffield spend most of the game defending. You know, you talk about these games where they only have 35% possession, 40% possession, and it's because these other teams have them pinned back in their own zone. Why is that? Because these players, their back line can essentially play at midfield because they're not worried about you getting in behind them and having a chance and having a scoring opportunity, because they know that despite whatever happens, they can recover. Those defenders on the other side can recover because you lack pace, you lack quality in the final third. And so everyone talks about in the Premier League, the first goal is important, right? The first goal is huge because that changes the way the other team plays, that changes the way that you play. And I think what this new signing does for Sheffield more than anything is it gives them that person who can score goals. And if Sheffield does have an opportunity where they can be the first team to score, they can play more of their style, which is sit back, absorb a pressure. It's going to force the other side, the other club, to play maybe a style that they didn't want to play going into the game. And so I'm hopeful that this new signing will be able to score or create chances for other players. Corbin, what are your thoughts?
Right on point. So right now, Sheffield's average age for their strikers, who are the guys who score goals, for people who don't know, as far as serious strikers, is 33 years old, which, I mean, I'm 30, Koenig's 30. There's people out there listening that are a lot older than 30. It doesn't seem old, but 33 years old, average age for a football player or a soccer player, is very old. That's old. That's a lot of mileage, right? And so teams know that, like Koenig mentioned, teams know you've got old strikers out there who are not fast, they're not as agile, they're not as quick, they're not as sharp. And like Koenig mentioned, they've kind of cheated the game. Like, okay, we don't really see you as much of a threat, so instead of being as defensive as we normally would be, we're going to be more offensive and we're going to take more chances. And that's kind of led to us going 0-3 for the first 3 games. But with this new signing here, we have a 20-year-old coming in from Liverpool. Liverpool is a fine organization club in English football. They won the Premier League last year, which is a huge deal. We'll see what this kid can do. He's 20 years old. hopefully we can score some fucking goals because we've watched 3 games so far with 0 goals and it's been very mind-numbing. So we'll see what we'll see what Sheffield United can do. Again, we don't want to bog you down too much with Sheffield because we know that Scott Jones can only take so much Sheffield United because he's so excited. So I'll leave it there. Koenig, do you have anything to add?
No, we'll kind of see. Sheffield is about to enter a really tough stretch of games. Over the next 4 or 5 weeks, they're going against some of the top teams in the table in the league. So our sights, we're not overly optimistic about the next few games on our schedule. We do have a game against Fulham in a couple weeks, and they're recently promoted from the championship as well. A lot of people are saying Fulham might be the worst team in the league. So I think we'll have a much better idea, especially since Ryan Brewster from Liverpool gets into the mix and he's able to kind of figure things out with the team. If we drop that game to Fulham, I think we'll have a really good idea
deep shit
of where this team is. It's not good. But I'm optimistic in the sense that like Sheffield is investing in younger players. They're investing in a little bit of quality. And it's been their younger players who've been making the difference. Some of these younger players in the games, Corbin and I are saying, like, yeah, we lost, but there are a couple bright spots. There's a couple bright spots. If a couple bounces go our way, if maybe a ball that we should have scored goes in the net and it totally changes the shape or whatever of the other team and how they go about the game, you're potentially looking at a different result. And so it's a 38-game season. We're 3 games into it. So, the sky's not falling yet, but Sheffield, it's time. Let's go.
Here. So, enough Sheffield talk for all you soccer fans out there. We are going to go ahead and jump into our next segment, the unknown.
The unknown.
The unknown. The unknown. Everybody's favorite segment, the unknown. This week, I am in charge of the unknowns. I will be putting Koenig through the gauntlet and see how he fares. This week, in honor of the Major League Baseball playoffs kicking off, if you will, we're technically now approaching the second round, which is technically the NL Division Series and the AL Division Series. But I wanted to do a unknown section based on Major League Baseball history. Now, what I have done is I have 10 scenarios. We are going to steal a segment from Highly Questionable on ESPN called See or No. So yes or no for all you people who don't speak Spanish. Koenig is essentially going to tell me yes or no, or essentially true or false for each situation that I'm going to present to him. There are 10 scenarios or 10 questions, if you will. 5 of them are Major League Baseball history as a whole, and the other 5 are present-day players. So it's only going to apply to players who play currently.
Okay.
So looking at this list, I think the threshold is 6.
Okay.
Now, mind you, I had 1 beer before the show, and I've had 5 already. So I'm on my 7th beer right now, which I have to finish before this segment ends. I think Koenig could get 6. Anything lower than 6, I think he would have to owe a shot.
Okay.
Anything 6 or above, I will owe a beer or a shot, whatever Koenig chooses. Koenig, do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
All right. So there's different categories. So there's 5 categories. There's 1 present day, again, active players question or scenario. And then there is also universal, so Major League Baseball as a whole. So there's 2 scenarios or questions per topic. We have home runs, closers, hits, starting pitchers, or miscellaneous. Which category would you like to start with first?
Miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous. Okay. So your first scenario, and again, this is see or no. You tell me yes or no if this is true or false, okay?
Okay.
The first question is, the Seattle Mariners are the only team in Major League Baseball to have never been to a World Series. And this is current teams. And that also
Ooh.
means teams that were the Brooklyn Dodgers that became the LA Dodgers, or the Milwaukee Braves who became the Atlanta Braves. So it's current teams and all their baggage, if you will.
Yeah. So you're saying not necessarily that they've won a World Series, but like been to a World Series.
So been to a World Series. So they have to have at least gotten there. It doesn't matter if they won or lost. So the Seattle Mariners are the only team in Major League Baseball to have never been to a World Series.
I'm going to
C or
say
no?
C. There have been other teams who have not won a World Series, but the Mariners are the only team that haven't been. Yes, C. I'm going to say that is a C, senor.
Final answer?
C.
That is correct. They are the
Hey.
only current team never even been to a World Series. So you are 1 for 1 right now.
Excelente.
And I'm going to go ahead and give you your second option for the miscellaneous. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
According to Forbes, in 2019, the Tampa Bay Rays are financially the lowest valued team in Major League Baseball. See or no?
Who would be lower than the Rays? Orioles, maybe? They paid a lot of money to like Chris Davis.
Crush Davis, you mean?
Yeah, that guy sucks.
They didn't used to.
Fuck.
One more time as you think about the question.
Yeah.
According to Forbes, in 2019, the Tampa Bay Rays are financially the lowest valued team in Major League Baseball. See or no?
Are they the lowest? I'm going to say no. I think there are lower teams. I'm going to say no. Final answer.
No?
Yep.
Final answer?
Yep.
The correct answer is no, they are not the lowest team. There are actually 2 teams below them. The Miami Marlins are the lowest valued team,
Gotcha.
even with a brand new stadium, or relatively brand new stadium.
Right.
And then the Kansas City Royals.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then it is the Tampa Bay Rays.
Wow.
So you are 2 for 2, which is not good. So you have to go 4 for 8, and then you'll win this bet here.
Excelente.
So, excelente on the C or no. Okay, so you've gone through the miscellaneous category. Now you can pick between home run, closers, hits, or starting pitchers.
I'll take closers.
Oh, he's taking closers. Would you like the active question or the overall question?
Overall.
Okay. Most people, or most fans of baseball, know that Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman are number 1 and number 2 for most saves all time. The question is Francisco Rodriguez, aka K-Rod, number 3 on that list?
Oh, shit. Okay, so
There's a lot of good closers out there.
yeah, I'm thinking like Lee Smith has got to be on that list. I feel like Franco would be up there. Fucking Billy Wagner, right?
You're 2 for 2. I can't give you any fucking clues.
I feel like even Dennis Eckersley is up there, but is he 3? I don't think he's 3. God, K-Rod. I know K-Rod is top 5. I don't.
K-Rod was a monster.
Sure was. Is he 3rd though? 3rd is high.
Maybe, but there could be a huge drop off from 2 to 3, though.
Well, I feel like there is. I'm gonna say no. I think there's someone higher than him. I think he's 4th or maybe even 5th. I think like guys like Billy Wagner, even like Lee Smith, are a little bit higher on that list than he is. I'm gonna say K-Rod is not 3rd on the list. Final answer.
Okay, so no. That is correct. He is fourth on the all-time list behind a Mr. Lee Smith, just as you had mentioned. So good job, man. Good on you.
Hey, there you go.
Okay, are you ready for the second option of closers?
Yes, so this is going to be current players, right?
This is active MLB players, so players who are currently on Major League Baseball rosters, okay?
Okay.
Now, this one is the only question that I actually gave you options that can either help you or hurt you. So you can either take them and narrow it down, or you can overthink yourself here, okay?
Okay.
So the scenario, or the question, if you will, is Craig Kimbrell has the most saves of all active Major League Baseball players. To give you the top 5 of all active Major League Baseball players in no order is Craig Kimbrell, Kenley Jansen, Aroldis Chapman,
No.
Greg Holland, and Mark Melancon.
No, Kimbrell's the all-time. He's the all-time active saves leader for sure. Craig Kimbrell, final answer.
So you're saying yes, final answer.
Si, senor.
Yes. That is correct.
Yeah.
That is absolutely correct.
Yes.
Okay, well, fuck. Okay, you are 4 for 4, so you need to get 2 of the next 6 in order to win this scenario. Would you like home runs, hits, or starting pitchers?
Starting pitchers.
Starting pitchers, would you like the active or all-time question?
Active.
Active, okay. See or no? Jacob deGrom holds the record for active players with a season-low 1.70 ERA, which he accumulated in 2018. As far as current pitchers in Major League Baseball, does Jacob deGrom hold the season-low record of ERA, which he accumulated in 2018 with a 1.70 ERA?
Ooh. Over a season.
Over an entire season, yes.
So 2018. The only other player in 2018 that I can think of that could even come close to that would be Scherzer. Scherzer had a really good year in 2018. I think he even struck out 300 batters that season. Jacob deGrom having 1.70 ERA, the lowest among active pitchers over a major league season.
Yes. People who are actively pitching in Major League Baseball.
I must say, C.
You think that Jacob deGrom does hold that record?
I do.
Final answer?
C.
That is incorrect.
Oh.
The correct answer is actually Zach Greinke when he pitched for the Dodgers his final season.
Wow. Okay.
Are you ready for the all-time starting pitchers question?
Yes.
Hey, see or no? Roger Clemens ranks in the top 10 for all-time wins.
All-time wins. Oh, fuck. I thought you were going to say strikeouts.
All-time wins. Now, I'm going to give you an insight, and this could be to fuck you up or it could be to help you here.
Fuck.
You have to remember, there were players back in the day that pitched every other day.
I know, yeah.
That have, like, Cy Young, who has, like, 600 wins, who's, like, number 1 overall by far.
Jesus.
So, again, that could be to help you or to fuck you up here.
Yeah, there's so many players from what I like to call, like, the black and white era who have so many fucking wins. Like, Walter Johnson is up there on the list. He's the first one that comes to mind. In terms of, like, modern day pitchers, I'd like to think guys like Greg Maddux are on the list. Like, Warren Spahn is probably up there. Is he top 10? So many. I know Maddux is top 10 for sure. That dude he won, like, every fucking game.
And he never threw too hard either.
No. Top 10 all time. Jesus.
He obviously amassed a ton of strikeouts.
Yes.
So I can see the dilemma here.
Yes, yes. And wins is such an arbitrary stat for a pitcher, I feel like, because wins is just as much a reflection of what team you play for as it is how good you are.
Yeah, you could get 8 runs and give up 5 and still get a win.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Clemens, he pitched for the Red Sox, he pitched for the Yankees, so he had good teams.
And the Astros.
And
the Astros.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
The Astros.
Oh, I'm gonna say, fuck. I'm gonna say, I think he's right on the cusp. I want to say he's like 10th. I'm gonna say C. I think Roger Clemens is top 10 all time in wins. Final answer.
That is correct. He is actually number 9th overall, if you can believe it. And he has Greg Maddux is above him by only 1 win.
Wow.
So Greg Maddux is at 8 with 355. Roger Clemens has 354. So It is within 1 win between 8 and 9. Isn't that wild?
I would have thought that Maddux was significantly higher, but okay. I didn't know that.
Damn. Okay, well, I am up shit creek without a paddle here. So you are 5 for 6 with 4 questions left. So we have home runs and hits. Which category would you like to go to next?
I will take home runs.
Home runs. Would you like the active or the overall?
I'll take active.
Okay, active. All right. As far as active MLB players, Chris Davis, a.k.a. Crush Davis, holds the single-season home run record. C or no? So as far as players playing right now on a Major League Baseball roster, Chris Davis holds the single-season home run record. Yes. C or no?
I feel like the year that Chris Davis hit a bunch of home runs, he hit like 50-some.
He hit a lot.
Yeah. Shit.
And then he fell off a fucking cliff.
Yeah, that dude is lost. Shit. I'm trying to think of players who hit a lot of fucking home runs. Jesus. I mean, I'm like, Nelson Cruz hit a lot, but like Chris Davis hit like 50. That's a lot.
I'll give you a hint. He hit more than 50.
Oh, Jesus. Did someone hit more than that?
Maybe they did, and maybe they did not.
God damn it. I'm going to say 50 active players. I'm going to say C. I do think that Chris Davis has the active player home run record in a single season. C.
Final answer?
Yes.
That is incorrect.
Oh, really?
So Crush Davis, the most he's ever had is 53, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But Giancarlo or Mike Stanton has hit 59. The last year he was with the Marlins, he hit 59 home runs.
Jesus.
And then he moved on to the Yankees, the evil empire.
Yikes. Okay, well.
You're still in good shape. You have 3 questions to get 1 right.
Ugh.
Are you ready for your next home run question?
Yes.
Okay, now this is all time. So this is players across everything. Mark McGwire is ranked in the top 10 all time for most career home runs. C or no?
Shit.
Mark McGwire, the Big Mac from the St. Louis Cardinals and Oakland A's, is ranked in the top 10 all time for most career home runs.
Damn.
C or no?
All right, so let's kind of go through the list. Barry Bonds has the most. He broke Hank Aaron's record. Babe Ruth hit over 700. I don't think Mark McGwire hit that many. I know A-Rod almost hit 700 because back when he was playing, everyone was like on the 700 home run watch. It was like on ESPN every night. I know Willie Mays hit like 600. Top 10?
Top 10. Is he in the top 10? C or no?
I know Pujols is still playing. God, I feel like he hit over 600 by now because he had that huge celebration in Anaheim when he hit 600. So he's got to have over 600. McGuire hit a lot. I don't think he's top 10. I listed like at least 6 guys right there off the top of my head that I know for sure have more.
Well, I mean, you think they have more.
True. This might be 5 beers down on the Rolling Stones here, but I'm trying to reason my way through this as best I can. I don't think he's top 10. Like, I just feel like there's more. I'm going to go with my gut on this. I'm going to say no. I don't think he's top 10. I think there are more players that have hit more home runs than Mark McGuire.
Final answer?
Yes.
That is correct. You fucking sandbagging son of a bitch.
Let's go.
There is. So he is actually number 11 on the list. So
close.
Above him is Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Alex Rodriguez, Albert Pujols, Willie Mays, Ken Griffey Jr., Jim Thome, Sammy Sosa, and Frank Robinson.
Wow.
So yeah, he is 11 by 3 home runs, just by 3.
Wow.
So you have gone ahead. You have won the unknown. I'll give you the next 2 questions really quick, just so we can get this episode over because it's a 3-hour episode. So the next situation is hits. So you can take the active players or the all-time list. Which one would you like?
We'll go active first.
Okay, he's going to go active first. Okay. As far as active, Miguel Cabrera has the record for most hits in a single season. C or no?
So I'm thinking back to like the year that Miguel Cabrera won the Triple Crown. He hit like 340 that year, I feel like.
He was also a monster for the Marlins.
Yeah, it sure was. I'm going to say, for the sake of the episode, I feel like it's long enough. I'm going to say C. I do think that's true.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is no. It's actually Jose Altuve in 2014 who hit 225 hits in that season. And the final question, this is all time, okay?
Yep.
Derek Jeter is ranked in the top 10 all time for most career hits. C or no?
Oh.
All time career hits. Singles, doubles, triples, home runs.
Everything.
Everything. Derek Jeter is ranked in the top 10 all time for most hits. C or no?
He had a lot. He played forever.
He had over 3,000. We know that.
Yeah, he sure did. Did he hit a home run for his 3,000th hit?
Yeah, how awesome is that?
I think I was at All-Star Game FanFest. Maybe you were there with me. It was in Phoenix. And we were watching the TVs, and Derek Jeter hits his 3,000th hit for a home run, which is fucking crazy. I'm going to say he had a lot of hits. How many people have hit 3,000 hits? I'm going to say C. He's in the top 10 all-time in hits. Final answer.
That is correct. He is actually, if you can believe it, he is 6th all time.
Wow.
Top 6. So, damn, I mean, shit, you kind of ran train in the unknown there. So you got, I think you got, what, 7 or 8 out of 10? I'm a little too drunk to remember, but you fucking ran. You took care of that. But I've got my shot of tequila from Jose Cuervo on tap here. Now, I've got all my, I'm gonna cling them together so people can hear at home. I've got the 6 beers that I drank during the show and the 7th one that I drank as a warm-up, and then I've got my Jose Cuervo here.
What a sport.
So I'm going to go ahead and take this and pass out and wake up on Monday. But
down the hatch. See, you guys reached out to us and you said you wanted us to be a little bit more drunk, and if 7 beers, I had 6 on my end in a 2-hour show, so if that's not what you guys are looking for, I don't know what to tell you.
Here's the problem. When you guys want us to drink more, you get a 5-hour show like we did tonight. So you're just going to have to deal with it, okay?
Yeah, exactly. But that is all we have for you here in episode 11. It's hard to believe we're talking about 11 episodes already, but we're having a whole lot of fun. We're drinking a whole bunch of beers and talking about sports, and we hear that you guys are into that sort of thing. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. We do have a whole lot more coming for you on next week's show. We're going to have some more MLB postseason, I'm sure. We'll have a wrap up of the NBA playoffs. We'll have NFL week number 4. I'm sure we might have some college football mixed in there. We'll see. And of course, we will have the Sheffield update and the unknown as always. If you're not already, feel free to follow us on Twitter at Slightly Sideway. If you're watching the show on YouTube and you're enjoying the content, you're enjoying all the hard work that goes into these videos, hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up. It really does help us out a lot. It encourages us to continue doing this sort of thing for you. So if you do enjoy that, hit the thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Koenig, joined as always by my good friend and co-host, Corbin. Say goodnight to the people, Corbin.
I'm pretty fucked up right now, but that's okay. But to all my Swedes out there, good morning, and I hope you have a great day.
Good night, everyone.